Hello and welcome to the Baron's Game Room. I'm Aaron as always, and I feel sometimes like I do a lot of games that are Baron approved on this page, which easily explained by the fact that it's my own collection. I'm not buying a bunch of games I don't like. Yeah, every now and then I have some that end up getting the down or like kind of a middling or whatever, but mostly they're up. And it's not because I just like everything. It's like I said, it's because it's my own collection. I don't have a lot of extra money just to be buying a bunch of games I don't like. People aren't sending me games yet, and TikTok definitely ain't paying me for any of this or whatever. But that doesn't mean I don't have some negative opinions about some of my stuff. Again, last year I did like a whole series for a month or so of games I was removing from my collection for various reasons. And I know at least some of those got the thumbs down because I wasn't really caring for them. Today's game is going to be a bit of a mixed opinion thing when I talk about, come here, Santorini. Now, some of you might already know Santorini is a very popular game and might already begin mad at me thinking I'm going to crap all over it, because I'm not. So, give me a chance here. And for those of you that don't know what Santorini is and think, well, if he doesn't like it, then maybe I shouldn't even worry about looking into it, hey, seriously, stick around. Santorini is an abstract strategy game for, well, it says 2 to 4 players. We'll get into that in a bit, where you are competing to build the town of Santorini, using favors from the gods to help you out. You're technically trying to be the first player to move one of your workers up on top of a 3rd level building. But yeah, let's get into it. Right from the very top, this is a beautiful game. You set up here, you're going to end up placing this, oh, I have it on wrong. There we go. Placing this board on top of this little stand here, which is just very nice and thematic. What did I mess up on? Dang it. I'm not sure what I was doing wrong, but here it is. And you also get to play with these really great, awesome, like 3D pieces that you end up playing out on the board like this. And it looks really neat as you're playing out. It's a beautiful game. Absolutely have no complaints there about the look of this game. Anyway, going back to setup, after you have your board built, you're going to have each player 2 of these matching color things. You'll see, I kind of hate how close these 2 colors are. And when you get the expansion, it adds more that aren't even that much different as well. I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, each player is going to take 2 of these. And then the youngest player is going to place their 2 workers on any unoccupied space on the board they want. Then the next player will do the same thing. I'm going over the 2-player rules. I might go over the additional changes for 3 and 4 player later, but we're going to start with 2-player. Now I'm going to teach you guys the way the rulebook teaches it, which is to teach you the basics of the game first and then talk about god powers. Personally, whenever we played it, we just did god powers right away because, we've played enough games to understand that we could, understand the god powers. But technically it teaches you to play the basics of it a few times first, then do the gods. Let's go on. So just like setting characters, it says younger player is going to go first. Once you've set your characters on the board, your workers, on your turn you're simply going to do 2 actions. You're going to move one of your workers, and then you're going to build. Moving can be done in one of any of 8 directions. So you can go up, down, what's left, right for this? Left, no, left, right. Sorry, when you look through the phone, it gets weird. Or any of the diagonals. So I can move this guy here, boom. And then I can build. I can build on any adjacent space, which just like movement is any connecting up, down, left, right, diagonal space. If there's nothing on that space, you'll place a level 1. Boom. But if there's already one there, then you'll just place the next level up. So I can place a level 2 or, 3 or whatever up to the dome. A few extra rules to this. You are not allowed to move into any occupied spaces, so cannot move here. You can move up to 1 level higher, like that, from there to there, but you cannot move more than 1 level higher. So this character could not move here. It's a diagonal space. They normally could move there, but since that's 2 levels up from where they are, they can't reach it. So, not occupied spaces and only 1 level up when moving up. Extra clarification for building, though, you can build on any level. So, you can't build into an occupied space. I couldn't place a building on top of this person, but even though this is 2 levels higher and I cannot move here, I can still build here. So I can move and then build that. The standard win condition for this game is to be the first player to move one of your workers on top of a level 3 building on your turn. Seems simple enough. So the first player to move their character, boom, on top of level 3 like this, wins the game. A good way to block players from doing that is with the domes. The top of that is this dome, boom, which blocks off the thing you cannot land or build on top of domes. One quick note, whenever you do build a dome on top of a tower like this is now considered a complete tower. It doesn't mean much in the basic games, but some god powers use these complete towers to trigger events. And that's everything you need for the basics of the game. Now we're going to go on to the god powers, which really kind of step up the strategy of the game a little bit. So Santorini comes with 30 in the base game of these god power cards. There are 10 simple god cards and 20 advanced god cards. These are dealt out at the beginning of the game. The way they say to go about it is for one player to be the challenger, and they will pick one god card for every player. They don't choose who gets it, they just pick, like if you're playing 2 players, they'll pick out 2 god cards. And then starting with, the player from them, everyone else will get one of the god cards, and the player who chose which god cards you're using gets to pick last. That makes sense? Playing a 4-player game, basically, I would pick out 4 god cards, and the player to my left would pick one, then the next player, then the next player, and then I would get whichever god just wasn't picked up by anybody else. I'll be honest, I don't really like that mechanic when we play, especially starting off, because we didn't really know, how to use each of the gods yet. We just randomly shuffled up the simple gods, or later the advanced gods, and dealt 2 to each of us, and then we just looked at the 2 we got and picked which one we wanted. That felt a little better to me, essentially. I get once you know how they all work, but also there's 30 god cards. That's a lot to kind of know how they all work for you to be able to decide how you want to do it. But hey, that's the rules. Let's move on. Like I just said, there are 30 of these even in the base game, so there's really no way for me to go over all of them, but basically these will give you either various actions you can do on your turn, or they will give you additional setup, except for the start of your turn, different win conditions. Some of them have special setup rules, like this one here. And yeah, so these all just have basic general rules that break the standard rules of the game, allowing you to build twice, or move extra, or push other players around, so on and such. And they are a nifty little addition to the game. There's really not any more to say about the god cards than that. For 3 and 4 players, it does say you're required to use the god cards for it. Some of the god cards are only supposed to be used in certain player counts. If you look at the top of the god cards, you'll see over on this side here, you'll see 3 and 4 player icons, if they can be used in those. And on this side, you can see whether they can be used with the expansion, the Golden Fleece or something like that. When I bought this, I bought it used, and the person who went before me already bought the expansion, which is cool and great and all. Although whoever owned it before me was a complete psychopath and did not keep the rules to the expansion in the box. So I have all of the contents to the expansion, but I have to go online and look up the rules because they didn't freaking include it. Like, what is wrong with you? Anyway, let's go on. Now, there's really not much of any change for doing 3 and 4 players, other than, technically there is another set of characters on the board moving around. In a 3-player game, you're simply going to add in a third color, a third pair of workers, and then play the game as normal from there. The only difference from there is there are some cards, some of the god powers, that basically cause you to remove people from the board, and if you end up getting all your players removed, then you can't play the game or you're done. So if for any reason you lose the game, because one thing I didn't mention earlier is if at any time you can't move and build in your turn, you lose that way. You have to be able to move and build. If for some reason you're stopped from doing that, you lose the game. If you lose, just take your workers off the board and let the other 2 players keep playing. In a 4-player game, it's just a team situation, so 2 players control 2 workers, and another 2 players control another 2 workers. That's it. They don't have a 4-player free-for-all version. I really don't have any more detail to add to the game there. I mean, that's really it. The base of the game are move and build, stack up there at the top, use the god powers to sort of cheat how the basic game plays. And the expansion, I don't really want to get into too much because I haven't had a lot of experience with it, but basically it adds more gods. It adds these hero guys you can use that has different effects. It does have an option to use sort of a hidden movement one, which is kind of nifty, and some shared power stuff, but honestly, I just don't like them very much. So here's where my mixed feelings really come into it. The game as a whole, the base game, I absolutely love this game. So to keep you guys from waiting any longer, Santorini base game, absolutely Baron approved. I freaking love this game. I'm a big fan of abstract strategy games. This is a great one. I think it looks beautiful to play and all that. I love the way the little 3D models look. I love the little podium you kind of play it on. It all looks great. I think it's a beautiful game. I think it's very elegant in how you play it. Great game. If you like abstract strategy games, I think you'll love it. I think it's good for younger players as well, honestly. I think it's also still very playable for adult players and all that. Absolutely. But it's all the extra. This is one of the very few times in gaming where I feel they almost ruin their game by what they're adding to it. There are 30 of those God cards, and some of them are just like slight variants of another one. I've got a quick example for you. You've got the civil god Demeter here, who on your build, your worker may build one additional time, but not in the same space. Then you have the advanced god over here, Hestia. Hestia, your worker may build one additional time. The additional build cannot be on a perimeter space. It is so close to sim ability. The only difference is this one just has to be 2 different spaces, and this one could technically be on the same space, but it's not allowed to be on any of the outer edges of the board. It's just such a minor difference. I don't really understand why you have both of those in there. Some gods' powers feel way more stronger than others. Some of them just feel way too similar. When you add the expansion in there, they start getting weirdly complicated and require you using a bunch of extra tokens and pieces to keep track of. And I feel like you took this beautifully simple game and just mucked it up for no good reason. I don't see the point of it. I really feel like they could have done half of this number of cards and it'd be a perfect almost 10 out of 10 for me at that point. And maybe some of the weird ones that have like extra bits I'd be okay with. Some of the more wilder ones you could have included as getting weird with it in the expansion, but just not this many. It's not necessary. There's too many that are too similar. There's too many that just get too wild and out there. Plus, the game actively tells you about all these things that just don't work. Yeah, when you get the expansion, they say, hey, be careful and look out for the little minus mark. Because some of them have this little minus on the side and show you other god cards that they don't work with. If you're playing with that one, you're not supposed to play with the other ones because they say it makes the game imbalanced or unfun or just not interesting and stuff like that. And it's like, then maybe you shouldn't have included them. Maybe taking out half of these gods would have gotten rid of some of the clashing abilities. So while I absolutely adore Santorini and think it's a beautiful, elegant, simple game for much of any age of players, the base game is Baron approved, even if I really feel like it should have about half as much content. The expansion, which I feel even more should have about half as much content, is gonna end up getting the disapprove. I guess as a whole, technically, each one sort of gets half of a thumbs up and half of a thumbs down. I don't want to stay in the middle because I'm not in the middle about it. Some of it is absolutely a positive and some of it is absolutely a negative. Sorry if that's confusing. Make of that what you will, guys.